Hello, and happy Cinco de Mayo. I am Eric Miscoll with EMS Now, and welcome to this edition of the virtual Eric Miscoll Show. As always, I'd like to thank Phil Stoughton for getting up early down in Australia and joining in for the conversation today. Our conversation today is we invited back some colleagues, only one who decided to show up though. So we had to, I'll explain that in a moment. But our focus of the discussion today is the electronics manufacturing industry in Mexico. And as we do, a lot is happening down there, and we always like to stay current and get some updates from people on the ground there. For our audience today, I would just remind you that you are all on mute, so we will not hear you if you make a lot of noise in the background. This show is being recorded and will be rebroadcasted on EMS Now, I believe tomorrow. And if you do have any questions, we invite you to pose those using the question tab at the bottom of the screen there. That said, let's move forward. As I said, we're focusing on Mexico today. It seems appropriate with Cinco de Mayo, so I put the flag up behind me and everything. So, we invited two guests. We have, as always, on our screen today is Ivan Romo with, he's the director of SMarTsol Technologies. I'll have him introduce himself in a moment. Our other guest, unfortunately, had some business come up and had to bow out. He, of course, was Bernardo Diblido with Flex, and he said it was business. Maybe he just started his celebrations a little early. We're not judging, but it is what, but anyway, hopefully we'll catch up with Bernardo another time later this year.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah, so Ivan, welcome. Thank you for taking the time and joining us today. Why don't we begin by allowing you to introduce yourself and SMarTsol, please.
Hi, Eric and Phil. Thanks very much for the invitation, and thanks for all the friends, the industry friends that are connected today with us. I'm Ivan Romo, General Manager for SMarTsol. SMarTsol has offices in the United States, in Texas and Arizona. And in Mexico, we have demonstrations and warehouses in Juarez, Reynosa, Tijuana, Querétaro, and Guadalajara. I'm 24 years of experience in the electronic assembly industry, some in the engineering and operations side of the largest EMS, and other years doing equipment sales, representative distribution in the most important companies in Mexico. So thanks very much for the invitation.
Excellent.
Hey, Ivan, before we started today, you were talking a little bit about some expansion plans and some bits and pieces going on with you guys. Give us a quick update on what's happening, because SMarTsol just seems to continue to grow and continue to expand in Mexico and around the borders.
Yeah, I mean, the electronic assembly industry in Mexico has a continuous growth time. More than 10 years, SMarTsol has been taking advantage of that. Just to give you an idea, we have grown 400% in the last 4 years. Last year, we took the decision to open a new building here in Guadalajara. We have the land, so we began the construction. And 2 weeks ago, we started using this building. So right now in Guadalajara, we have 1 demonstration room and 2 warehouses for the distribution of the equipment and consumables. Also, the training center in Querétaro is ready, available. We have not deployed the training schedule for the customers in the Bajío region because of the pandemic situation, but that will be within a couple months more. In Juarez also, we have been using a small office. Last year, we signed an agreement for a construction to have a building that is 10 times larger than the current one. Tomorrow, we are going to do the final inspection of that building. So we are pretty sure that we are going to be moving into the new facility within 3 or 4 weeks. And also, other good news that will be deployed very soon into the social network for SMarTsol is that we just signed an agreement for a new demonstration center in El Paso, Texas. So that will reinforce our activities for the United States. So I'm pretty sure that that is going to be within the next 2 months when we are going to have all the demonstration and training room available in El Paso. So that will help for the customer borders and for the US customers to see the machines that we distribute and to take training directly from our staff in Texas.
Yeah, super impressive growth. And the pandemic has obviously been a huge challenge for the country and a huge challenge for the industry, but you seem to have powered on through. What's kind of been going on with the pandemic, and what's the tail end of it currently looking like? And is it looking like a tail end?
Yeah, well, here in Mexico, we can see the pandemic from a different point of view: the social, the government actions, and the industry actions. Right? If we talk about social, we still have the regular controls to use the face masks in all Mexico. Looks like only the president is the only one who doesn't want to use that one, but it's his own decision, and that's the problem. But in house, sometimes we're still using the face mask. The using of gel, the antibacterial, is the most common now. That's why the electronic industry is being considered like essential industry in Mexico. We never stop because of the pandemic in Mexico. The electronic industry has been able to keep the operations as normal. The only big modifications that my customers did, and also we did that here in the corporate, is in the cafeteria area when we have no more than 20% occupancy of the total capacity, trying to keep the distance between people. In the office, most of the company are an additional windows, special acrylics to make more separation between people. And of course, we reduce from 25 to 30% the occupancy of the cubicles for the employees. The same happened with all my customers, and that's why the industry has been running in a regular basis. The only customers who have been affected because the pandemic, it was the automotive. As you know, that the automotive sales went down from 35 to 30%. So that volume decrease, it was reflected into the production for the companies doing automotive components. But at the same time, it was a good opportunity to renew the technology. Right now, with the transition from the traditional automotive to EVs, that it was a good chance for the companies to reconvert their production lines and to do new products introduction for the new trend of the EVs vehicles. So they got some extra capacity, but at the same time, it was good to do the conversion of the industry. Talking about what the government is performing, well, the vaccine campaign is still very low in Mexico, still only for 60s and older. So that represents less than 10% of the population, around 5%. So Mexico has been receiving 25 million of vaccines, but most of them are the double doses from Pfizer, AstraZeneca, CureVac, and just some of the Sputnik from Russia and CanSino from China. So, for example, my mom, my mother-in-law, they already got the 2 doses from the Pfizer ones here in Guadalajara, but up to date, still the second dose for the 60s and older. The teachers and people working in universities and schools are being vaccinated also this week. So it's good time because we are going to reactivate the schools very soon. But the projection to have the people younger than 60s is still kind of strange. It's not very clear. So that's why is the main concern. But at the same time, we still having the control for the pandemic in the companies and in the house. So that helps a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really interesting, Ivan. Sorry, Eric, I just wanted a couple of questions from that two things that stood out to me. One was what I think is really interesting is the opportunity of the quiet time for people to renew equipment and perhaps change things in their factory. And I wanted to touch on that. And perhaps at the same time, what you were saying about the automotive industry and the shift to EV. And I think people are seeing a change in the supply chain as a result of that as well. More car makers going direct to EMS companies rather than going through the tier one automotive suppliers. So talk a little bit about that opportunity to upgrade equipment and what that's meant, and maybe how the EV market is changing the automotive industry.
Yeah, that is a big opportunity right now. There are some lead companies that are driving more the EVs components. We see others that are being behind the lead companies that honestly, I don't see that they are moving so fast. So I'm concerned about some companies that I'm not sure what are they going to do within the next 10 years. They will need to have a big re-engineering process to update everything. But in general, last year it was very good for the equipment business in Mexico. The total that SMarTsol and our competitors, we sold around of 80 new SMT lines in Mexico. In addition to that, that represents around of 5,000 new jobs in the electronics industry in Mexico. The good thing is that only 15% of that lines, it was transferred from equipment relocations from Asia, but most of the percentage is brand new equipment. This year, we expect a growth of 15% versus last year. So basically, we expect to sell around of 95 lines in 2021. If we see the numbers from 2020, only March, April, and May, it was the months when we see a decrease in the sales because it was the starting of the pandemic. But once the companies understood what is the way to manage that into the production facilities, the production planning and the material allocation, then everything it was like planned. And in this year, so far, we don't see any problem related to the pandemic. We only see the material shortage related to the automotive chips. But regardless to that, a lot of business increase in the telecom projects, consumer, home appliance, and in other electronics sectors. So far, we see a great opportunities for this year also. So expecting to have at least other 5,000 new jobs in the industry in Mexico this year.
Okay. Hey, building off of that, and we talked a little bit about this before. When a new line is being acquired in Mexico, where is that purchase decision being made? Is that being made locally by the companies in their facilities in Guadalajara and throughout Mexico? Or is that at corporate headquarters somewhere else in the world?
Yeah, when I was in the industry, working in operations engineering, let's say 97, 99, I was able to get local approvals to buy 53 complete SMT lines. Of course, following some ABLs, but of course, putting or flavor to the recipe to buy in a local decision. And it was not required to go more than the plant manager. Right now, 100% of the equipment requires some level of corporate authorization. But last year we saw that 40% of the total equipment sales, it was 100% managed in Asia. That means that nobody here was able to do that because it was a not traditional year. It was 4 companies who buy a lot of equipment in Asia for Mexico. Yeah. So it was a strange situation, but at the end, it was driving because the transition of the offshore of the products in United States and the government regulations. So that helps a lot to the industry. But in this year, we see that the 40% is going to be not 4 customers, it's going to be 11, 12 customers. So it's a more balanced decision maker and more balance between different companies in 2021. So yes, there's still a lot of decisions outside Mexico, but capacity analysis, equipment selection, approval process for at least 60% of the equipment is being driven directly in Mexico.
In Mexico. And Ivan, you mentioned that all those Asian companies coming in. Are you seeing more and more of that? I mean, we know who, you know, we kind of have a good idea who those big 4 probably are, and we've seen what's going on there. Are they building greenfield sites? Are they acquiring factories? How is Asia approaching its investment in Mexico?
Well, last year we found out 13 new companies. And in this year, we are just closing April, and within the first 4 months, there are 3 new companies. So we feel that it's going to be similar numbers than the year before.
Yeah. And are they buying any Mexican factories, or existing facilities, or are they all new builds?
New builds.
Yeah.
Okay. And
that's impressive.
Asian and European companies, new setups. We start listening to some tier 2, tier 3 companies from the United States are also looking to have local operations in Mexico.
Yeah.
Very good.
Where are those facilities going? Because, you know, I spoke to a CEO of Creation Technologies recently, and he was talking about the expansion they were doing in Hermosillo, right? Which isn't necessarily the manufacturing mecca that people think of. When they think of Mexico, they think Guadalajara, they think the border. So how are the regions developing within Mexico?
There are 3 major regions in Mexico. In the past, Tijuana used to be fully dedicated for consumer and TVs business. Also in Chihuahua State, Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua, it was a lot of TVs, but that region has been reconverted into the high technology. So there are a lot of cloud computing, telecom, and home appliance right now. And the other region, of course, is Guadalajara. Guadalajara is the youngest region because it has only 25 years old. The others are near 30 to 40 years of experience in the electronic manufacturing. And of course, there is another region that has been very popular in the last year, like Monterrey, Reynosa, Matamoros, near to the Gulf of Mexico. So that is the attractive of that region, that is being able to move materials from Veracruz, Altamira into that region in a faster way. But in the last 10 years, we can say that Guadalajara, depending on the year, represent from 50 to 70% of the total sales per year, because it was always the largest EMS like Flex, Jabil, Sanmina, and others, right? And we're still growing. But right now, other companies are being established in the border area. So that has that in the last year and this year, we see that is more important right now, the sales in the border. They are managing between 60 to 80%, depending on the month. And because when you have large companies like the ones in Guadalajara, the growth is more slow. Yeah. But when you have medium-sized companies like the one in the border, it's more easy to duplicate the capacity. So that is the situation that we are facing right now.
Yeah, just to bring those 2 topics together, the Asian companies that we mentioned that are investing heavily in Mexico, have they selected particular geographies, or are they spread around the whole country?
They are in Tijuana, Juárez, and Guadalajara.
Okay. Yeah. what you'd expect the traditional.
Yes, yes, and of course that there are some tier 2, tier 3 companies that are being set up in Guanajuato, Querétaro, San Luis Potosí, and a little bit in Sonora. So we don't expect to see a company with 50 lines in San Luis Potosí, but there are companies that has from 1 to 10 lines, so small to medium size.
Yeah.
And how is it in these different regions? I know Guadalajara has a lot of good universities and you have this traditional base there. How is it for hiring in getting workers and engineers in these other regions? Is it just as easy, challenging?
Yes and no. I mean, if we compare with the current labor situation in the United States, where the young people doesn't want to work in the manufacturing industry, they prefer the software and financial matters. In Mexico, still a good and a healthy balance. We have a lot of technology schools and a lot of universities here in Guadalajara. We have more than 20 different universities. So we have 1,000 of just graduated people year over year. And we still having very good young people looking to have the job into the manufacturing. A lot of industrial engineering, electrical engineering, quality, people from chemistry show up in the electronics to work in the quality, mechatronics. So it's a very, very good offer of the universities. And of course, the electronic assembly industry has a good salaries, so it's still very attractive for the young people to work in our market.
Yeah, and what really impressed me when I was in Guadalajara was the way the whole community, the whole electronic manufacturing community worked, and the connection you had to academia. So the relationship between companies like yours and the big EMS companies with academia is really significant, and they're learning the right skills to be valuable in the industry. I guess is that the case across the whole of Mexico?
Yes. For example, it depends on the region. There are different organizations doing the relationship with the academy. But here, the CANIETI, the Electronic Chamber Industry, the INDEX, the Maquila Association, and also the SMTA. Right now, there are chapters in several cities. They have all of them. They have a great relationship with the universities and with the HR people from the maquilas, and trying to align the educational programs according with the industry needs. And of course, offering scholarships, offering the way to do the practice, to have experience in advance inside the manufacturing companies. So that speed up a lot of the knowledge for the people.
Yeah, it's a great ecosystem, isn't it? And on that topic, do you think, as you look at the the post-pandemic recovery for the country, do you think the government sees manufacturing, and particularly electronics, as a key driver for recovery?
Yes, in some regions, this is a key driving for the Jalisco state. The government, Enrique Alfaro, is still pushing very hard to support the high technology industry, that is how it's being called here. He's having a great communication with the leaders of the industry, trying to support them. Ernesto Sanchez Proal, the Minister of the Economic Development in Jalisco, is one of the more active members of the government with the industry. They clearly understand what is required to do the economic recovery, and they know who are the right people to push that from the private sector. So especially in a state like Jalisco, private sector and government are working hand by hand in order to do their activation.
Yeah, and to have people in government that have got experience in manufacturing and really know the industry is hugely valuable and quite.
I see the same in Chihuahua, Nuevo León, and in other states when with the private sector of the international companies work hand by hand with the public. It's fantastic there. the level of relationship between the sectors.
Yeah. Well, with the manufacturing kind of forecasted as a growth sector, and we were talking about reshoring a bit too, with the business coming back, and it's coming back to the Americas, but Mexico is one of the great beneficiaries of that, and probably more so than the United States right now. The issue comes up about the local supply base. How is that developing? Is that in the past, most of the componentry and everything being assembled in has to be imported in from usually Asia, right? Is that changing? Is there development of local supply base?
Well, there are some semiconductor companies, especially in the Tijuana region and a little bit in Chihuahua, that they have very good plans to grow, to enhance their product portfolio of the chips manufacturing in Mexico, and that will help to clean up some of the current material shortage. But if we say about metal, electromechanicals, passive components, plastics components, we have a bunch of experience and a lot of offer here, so we can complement the bill of material for these projects. Right now, some of the relocation for the products made in United States, that means that Mexico will continue supplying a lot of the components, sub-assemblies for that final assembly made in United States. So we are self-sufficient for metal, for plastics, for another electromechanicals, for a lot of the chips and passive components, we still needing to bring those from Asia.
Yeah. And on the flip side of that, what about Mexican customers? Are you seeing the development of Mexican OEMs over the last 5 years? There's been a lot of innovation, a lot of startups, but are we starting to see some of those companies actually buy those manufacturing services, or is most of what Mexico is producing coming from orders from the US and from the rest of the world?
It's a combination, a little bit of everything. You see a lot of hirings into the development centers. If you search into LinkedIn, OCC, and other HR opportunities, they never stop to hire people. So, and of course, some of the EMS, they have development centers. So it's a combination of everything. We feel like the mix that I have been doing within the last 2-3 years will continue. Some of the designs coming from the United States, some from Asia, others from Mexico, but year over year, our engineers are having more participation into the technology decision of the products.
So more design capacity, do you think, coming into Mexico than has previously?
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of that, are there other services? I mean, what are the opportunities then for Mexico as we look forward for the next few years in terms of the technologies and services? Where do you see that growing?
Well, there is a lot, because right now there is a lot of investment in simulation before manufacturing, product qualification. Most of the companies are having the NPI equipment to launch a product and to run all the validations and tests before mass production. And of course, all the logistics that the customers are offering. That includes that within a few weeks, they can convert from a design to a finished good. So I remember when I was beginning on sales in 2003, a company called me and said, "Hey, Ivan, I need to buy this equipment. I need to hurry up because I need to start up this project, this line in 2 years." Right? So that was in 2003. Right now we get a call and say, "Hey, I'm going to give you a PO. Can you deliver tomorrow?"
So we've gone from 2 years to 24 hours.
Honestly, I don't know how are they speeding up to bring all the material. I'm more in the consumables and equipment side, but that's why we are having more warehouses here in Mexico, because of course we need to have 3 or 4 complete lines ready for fast delivery within a couple hours. So otherwise, the freight costs, we have 1 year paying from 3 to 5 times freight costs, air freight costs. So if we don't move the equipment within the boat, with the vessel, a couple months before, there is no way to be competitive in the market. We need to have a stock in advance for the equipment, especially in order to fulfill the customer needs.
So Ivan, you've got to be super smart then and figure out exactly what the customer's going to need before they need it. And I kind of sense that you're going to be able to do that because you've been doing this a long time. What I'm curious about is the choice of equipment they're making changing? Traditionally, we've seen people buying for capacity in Mexico. Are you seeing people buying more for technology? Are they pushing up the technology curve? And are they buying more automation? Are you seeing a higher demand for robotics and those kind of pieces of equipment?
Yes, most of the companies, SMT, of course, is being more automated. Maybe the people will not see a lot of changes into the traditional SMT, but the managing of the information is what is really changing, right? Just to be able to correct in real time the printing parameters based on the SPI inspection, and to all the industry 4.0 to send the information to the cloud, the pick and place, knowing in advance that they are going to run out of components within 5-10 minutes to the supermarket area to bring the AGV with the reels. Right now, the materials fulfilled to the line and the materials return is no longer manually. Right now, it's with X-ray counters and using storage racks. So everything is changing now. And of course, in the final assembly lines, we are taking the advantage to use the operators for a value-add task instead to be just putting the screws. We are allowing the robots to do assemblies, and we have the people basically supervising machines. So that is much better than before.
I think that's a fascinating change. And I was always struck by that, even 5 years ago when I was more regularly in Mexico, the fact that digital transformation was moving on as quickly there as anywhere in the world. And, people probably think of Mexico quite often as being very much low-cost manual labor, but the amount of automation that's going on there and the number of big companies that have invested heavily in automating and transforming their factories in Mexico first and almost using them as the poster child for Industry 4.0. I think that's been a fascinating trend over the last 5 years. And I see Mexico as advanced as anywhere in the world in terms of automation and transformation.
Yes, we have a very good location, and that helps. Since we are the south neighbor of the United States, we have a lot of support from the high-tech guys over there, and of course, high demand to do our job better. So it's a good thing that basically within 2 or 3 hours flight, the end customers can show up at our facilities to supervise if we are really doing the way that we say, if our reports that they are seeing real time in the smartphone are the same that they can see in the production floor. So we are in the same time zone that United States. So that has a lot of advantage within the communication, and that helps to confirm that Mexico is doing great into the technology, into the manufacturing, into the quality. And there is no need to wait for the day after to discuss about an issue. We can talk in real time.
Real time. Yeah,
Exactly.
and I think that's huge, and I think that connects very well to that topic of supply chain security and what people are concerned about at the moment when they're looking at their supply chains. How do we make them more resilient? How do we mitigate the risk of the next disruption, whether it's a pandemic or it's a natural disaster or it's political? How do we make sure our supply chain is secure and not at risk? And Mexico is a really good option for North America to be doing that. It almost feels like it's a part of the internal supply chain.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, basically, of course, there is always the push to reduce inventories, to have just in time. But if we really want to have a good cost management, then we need to move everything in containers. So basically, that is one of the safety stock that we have. If something happened with the supply chain, then we can use the airplanes, right? More cost, but of course, there is a way to recover it in a faster way. For example, Guadalajara Airport here in Jalisco, right now we have the direct flight from Shanghai. So it's only a cargo flight. So moving a lot of merchandise, a lot of components from Shanghai directly to Guadalajara. Our custom area in the airport is very sophisticated with the certification that a lot of the EMS has. They can move the components within a few minutes from the airport to the production line. So that is a fantastic process. We don't see any disruption on that. So
great logistics.
I feel
that
like
makes
the great logistics is very safe. No security issues really into the components. We have a lot of experience moving the trucks to the border. So far, no big incidents have been reported within the last years.
It's good.
Hey, listen, I'm cognizant of the time, and but before we close, I did want to ask you, we've covered a lot of ground here, but are there any issues that you think that we haven't covered that you think it's important to kind of tell our audience about the industry in Mexico and what's happening?
No, just say that the electronic assembly industry is still very strong in Mexico, a lot of opportunities, a very good cost saving moving products from Asia to Mexico. And of course, as we say, communication is not a problem. We can talk in real time. Take the opportunity to visit more, to learn more about the regions. All the regions in Mexico, like Querétaro, San Luis, Guanajuato, Chihuahua, Tamaulipas, Nuevo León, Baja, Sonora, and Jalisco had great offers for all the companies. There is a lot of people that can provide some consultancy for free like us. But we have the numbers of the market and we can let you know. Don't be afraid of the COVID here. Right now, the occupancy of the hospital beds is less than 10%. So that means that we have the virus under control. Yeah, we're still taking the right measurements, but it's safe to visit the companies. It's safe to be in the hotel. It's safe to have some dinners in the restaurants. So we are up and running, and we will continue supporting the market need for the United States.
Yeah, I think that's a great advert. And come to Mexico is a great line to finish with. Eric and I are both big fans of Mexico and spend plenty of time there. And it's a great place to work and operate the industry, but it's also a fabulous place to spend time and enjoy the country. So
absolutely,
yeah, we're both behind you on that one, Ivan.
Yeah, and Ivan, thank you. And I think that hearing you speak, if your current job doesn't work out, I think there's a future in the Chamber of Commerce for you down there. You're such a good, passionate advocate for it, but you speak with great insight as well. And I think that's
and great knowledge
by our audience. And as you just indicated, and I'll repeat to the audience, if you wish to know more or need to know what's going on in Mexico, here's a gentleman who is well connected, well informed, and easy to get a hold of. But check him out on LinkedIn and connect with him. And as I always say, if you can't get a hold of them, get a hold of me and I'll put you in touch. So
sure, thank you.
Yeah, Ivan, thank you again. We appreciate these periodic updates. Maybe we can do another one later in the year, because I'm sure it'll be an interesting year for all of us. And with that said, I wish you a happy Cinco de Mayo and a safe celebration this evening. So
cheers.
Thanks,
for
guys.
the Thanks very much.
Is that tequila?
Thanks for the opportunity. It's water, but in a couple of
maybe later.
Open a tequila bottle.
Yeah.
Enjoy. Take care and stay safe, everybody.
Thank you.